We've set up this podcast to teeter back and forth between interviews of amazing people and some thoughts I'll deliver solo. Today is a solo one, and it's an important one. Matter of fact, as I think on the topics that I think on the most, well, this is one of those topics. Let's title this with the word of the podcast, and let's call the word of the podcast mindset. Mindset. We all hear this word. Some have gone into great lengths to study it, to understand what does this really mean. And I think at the core of mindset is simply a recognition that our mind is the greatest tool. Whether you can or whether you can't, you're right. The idea of choice comes into the world of mindset, that if we can choose the way we think, we have control in so many ways over the outcome of things that those who are not aware of the mind's power do not. Mindset. Where is your mind set? Think about it. We set everything. We set a clock to be correct in its time. We have all kinds of settings to instruct the technology around us to do what we want it to do when we want it to be done. Think about this with our mind, making those deliberate choices, those deliberate notifications, those deliberate settings that control the next thing. You want it to be 70 degrees in a room, you type in 70, enter. The room now is at your deliberate whim. It does what you've instructed it to do. On its face, the word mindset sounds so simple. Set your mind correctly. Set it deliberately. Set it for the way you want things to be. And on its face, it may be just that simple. However, let me be the first to tell you, if you hadn't heard it before, that there is a battle going on for your mind and the way it is set. Now, this battle has been talked about, written about, crunched for centuries. As a matter of fact, in the world of great thinkers, quite honestly, I don't know anybody who hasn't acknowledged and tried to come to terms with this inner battle for the mind, which, of course, what we think creates what we do or don't do. I've phrased this whole topic, a battle between the you, the real you, the God-created you of abundance and possibility, with the anti-you, the one who is not your advocate. Now let's complicate the battle. Let's complicate the battle in in stating that this battle is of two powerful forces, the real you and the anti-you, but both in your mind audibly sound exactly like you. They're your voice. They're your voice. There are two authors to me that have hit this head on. Two people I respect greatly. For those who haven't really ground on this awareness, you can't fight a battle you're not aware of. Well, Napoleon Hill is one of those great thinkers, and I want to read you something that he wrote, just point blank, putting out in one of his books called Outwitting the Devil. I want you to read this with me. Napoleon Hill writes, "You are entitled to know that two entities occupy your body. One of these entities is motivated by and responds to the impulse of fear. The other is motivated by and responds to the impulse of faith. Will you be guided by faith, or will you allow fear to overtake you?" He describes the two worlds, fear and faith, different names for the anti-you and the you, different names. His encouraging words, and perhaps a statement of warning, is that he states that your only limitation is the one which you set up in your own mind. Mindset. You set up your mind. But you do so with an awareness that there's this choice, this battle going on. Another incredible thinker, Clive Staples Lewis. Pretty much everything C.S. Lewis has ever written, you should read, in my opinion. And he brings this truth of the you and the anti-you to us in a different form. Check out the book that he wrote called The Screwtape Letters. Incredible book. Screwtape is a veteran devil. He's a journeyman. He has been at it a long time. A journeyman devil assigned to a human being, the anti-you voice in that person's head, a veteran influencer. And he is assigned, Screwtape is assigned a young apprentice devil named Wormwood. Wormwood is an understudy to Screwtape in the book. And the correspondence that they have between journeyman and apprentice is really the essence of this amazing novel. And so with that setting, you can hear Screwtape trying to teach Wormwood how to be the influencer of the anti-you. I'm going to give you a few hints through the eyes of C.S. Lewis on how the anti-you works on the mind. Here's a couple quotes out of that book, The Screwtape Letters. He writes, Wormwood, the more often he feels without acting, the less he will be able to ever act. And in the long run, the less he will be able to feel. it gives you an idea of what the goal of the anti-you is. The goal of the anti-you is non-action. That the passionate impulse that someone may get to do something grand is a red alert. And the anti-you comes running with every tactic known to man and specific to the individual on how to create delay, how to create procrastination, how to create a diversion so that action doesn't happen. And the more success the anti-you has in causing you to not take action, pretty soon the feelings and impulses of action cease. And the anti-you, whose goal is sameness, has won the battle. Here's another interesting observation. Screwtape says to Wormwood, indeed, the safest road to hell is the gradual one, the gentle slope, soft underfoot, without sudden turnings, without milestones, without signposts. A very slow, gradual decline to become the walking dead, to become living in a coma without change, without turnings, without milestones, without signposts, without anything. And again, in the mind of the anti-you, this is the goal, is subtle regression. Subtle, not too obvious. That might stir something up. Just slowly, subtly, like boiling a live frog. Just turn the temperature up slowly, and it never even fights the fact that it's being boiled alive. It just accepts it. Now, if that visual doesn't disturb you, I don't know what does, but it disturbs the hell out of me. Here's another insight into the anti-you, a profound insight into the anti-you, because we live in a world of materialism, of success being stuff, of everything glam and big and shiny and all looking good. We have this visual in our mind these days that prosperity is a picture. It's a picture. Well, Wormwood, inquiring to Screwtape about this topic, Screwtape shares with him, to this young protege, and I quote, "Prosperity knits a man to the world. He feels that he's finding his place in it, while really it is finding its place in him." Think about that. Think about the subtlety of the anti-you in even allowing a certain amount of prosperity to shift and change who you are as a step in the wrong direction. It makes you ask yourself, does prosperity and success, does it make you feel different of you? Or are you the same person pre-prosperity that you are post-prosperity? Because if you've changed because of prosperity, the anti-you is won. Crazy. This topic of the you and the anti-you, this awareness of this battle, is the first step in embracing the power that goes on between our ears. The conclusions that we make whether they be right conclusions or wrong conclusions, whether they be conclusions that are of the real you or whether they are conclusions of the anti-you. Those conclusions we call beliefs. Our beliefs start being formed day one. Nobody is aware of these two voices in your head day one. There is no 3-year-old who is aware of the battle going on between the you and the anti-you. We are a sponge to our environment at a young age. And so our belief systems are formed by the scene of our youth, the people who are around us, the influencers of people and space and environment, and what we take in all around us starts forming our belief. If we're incredibly blessed, that orchestra of stimulus is guided by prayer and well-meaning, well-qualified individuals who are trying to bring out the best advocate voice in our head, trying to install and reinforce the very, very best of what we can be. But the fact of the matter is that even well-meaning people oftentimes are not qualified to be belief installers. And beliefs are the conclusions that we come to and start working from. They are the initial setting of our mind. These things are true, say we, and we act on those truths. Now, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not someone who has dove into the mind in the deepest way. Oh, I admire those who have, and I aspire to someday even be known for that passion of pursuit of this knowledge, because it is a deep well. But because I get drawn into arenas so often where people are seeking success, what is success? How do you achieve success? What are the elements that control the outcome? Why do some do and others don't do? Why do some achieve and others don't achieve? I've become a student of the mind because I'm a student of success. And the more my life goes on, the more I recognize and the more I uncover just how critical the installation, the operating system of your mind is in the overall success equation. This is why it's an undeniable area of study for anybody who truly wants to have an abundant life. You have to recognize that there is a battle going on. There's a battle going on. Our beliefs are the mind setting. But whether something is possible or impossible, whether our next aspiration is doable or not, comes back to the setting of our mind. Do we have the setting, the mindset that says we're ready to go, we're ready for takeoff, let's do this thing? Or is the anti-you is the anti-you holding fast a decision that has been installed, a decision that's been made, where we're never challenging that and therefore cannot go beyond that. I'm of the mind that most adults never even are aware or look at their belief systems, the mindsetness of their life. How do you operate whether you don't even know if there's an engine in the car? The work of understanding how you think is difficult. Thinking on what you're thinking about. It's like thinking squared. It's really difficult, but really necessary. I had a lot of what most would call success at a pretty young age. I became obsessed with buying real estate. I didn't know much, but the timing, the climate, the market, the tools that I did know allowed me to get going buying real estate out of the gate very aggressively. And I was young and stupid and just like any young kid, didn't really know what I was doing and felt like, well, boy, I need a goal. I got to have a goal. Everybody's got to have a goal, right? How do you know if you're winning or losing? And so just like every stupid kid, I set a goal that if I got enough dough together, I was going to buy a Porsche. I've always liked Porsches. Who doesn't like Porsches, right? Well, I'm a, kid that thought Porsches were cool, and I thought, things are starting to roll here. If I ever had enough dough, I was going to go buy a Porsche. And the day came after a couple closings, and I go through the drive-through and put some checks in, and I said, hey, can you tell me how much is in my account? And they slipped this little thing through the drawer, and I looked at it, and I went, man, that's enough to buy a Porsche. And I took off, and I went down to University Porsche Audi, and I walked right in the main door. And I think I looked like I was about 12 because I've always just sort of looked younger than I am, and I was already real young, but I walked in, and then I've got my jeans on and some boots and my Carhartt coat, and just came off some remodel on some house, and so the salesperson saw me like hanging around this Porsche and looking at it, and he approached me, but not as a serious client. He approached me concerned that the buttons on my Carhartt coat might scratch the car, and stay away. You can look at it, but don't get too close. And so he sort of left me to look at it like I was just some kid oohing and awing over a car. He did not take me seriously, which I don't blame him for that. But as he left me to walk around this car, and I'd be looking in the windows, looking at it, and it was just this beautiful Porsche, something happened that I couldn't explain. It was one of those times where I didn't know what was going on. And the best thing I could tell you, or the most accurate description, is that somehow I was looking over my shoulder, like I was doing something wrong, like somebody was watching me. And I couldn't figure out what that feeling was and why I was thinking or feeling the way I was feeling. And I got so anxious about it, I finally just bolted right out the door, and I got in my truck, and I drove about 3 blocks away. I swear I could drive to this day exactly where I pulled off. And I pulled off the side of the road, and I threw it in park, and I went, okay, what is going on? Like my heart was racing. I felt all anxious. I didn't feel excited about, oh my gosh, I'm going to buy this amazing car. Matter of fact, anything but that. I was afraid to for some reason. And I didn't know what was happening. But I remember yelling at myself, like out loud, sitting in this truck. You are not leaving here until you figure out what the hell is going on. And I just started to try to think, what is happening? And it was not easy. It was hard work. And as I just tried to calm myself and unpack what was happening, what came to the surface first is that if I bought this car, at some point, my dad was going to see this car. And I was really worried about that. And so I started unpacking that. Well, why am I worried about that? I'm an adult. I've got my own company. I don't need his permission to buy a car. So what's the problem? And then I'm thinking on that. I'm digging on that and trying to get down to it. What is at the root of this? And what I came up with was, if I bought this car, my dad would eventually see it. I knew my dad would be upset. And specifically, why would he be upset? Specifically, what I knew he would question was, he would say, Greg, do you need this? And the answer, of course, is, of course I don't need this. Who needs a new Porsche? I've got a truck. It works. It gets me everywhere I go. It's fine. So it felt like a checkmate. And when I'd answer, no, I don't need this, I could feel that he'd be angry with me, like I'd made a wrong decision, like he was disappointed in me in some way. And as I continue to unpack this, I realized that the belief system that was installed in me, not even knowing those words, not knowing what I was unpacking, not trying to do a lecture on mindset, that's for sure, just trying to understand what the hell's going on, I figured out that the way I was raised to believe was, you should have anything you need as long as you're willing to work hard and honestly for it. Need was the key word. We didn't have anything unless we needed it. And I started thinking about that and thinking about how if you wanted a new pair of tennis shoes, I would ride my bike dragging the toes of the tennis shoes I wanted to get rid of, because the only way you're going to get a new set of tennis shoes is if these have your toes showing through the end. They had to be completely worn out, ripped up, like throw them in the garbage before you got a new pair. If you don't need it, you don't get it. And I started thinking about this and realizing that, my mom and dad were raised in the Depression. They were raised very poor. They were raised without fathers. They also were denied anything they may want and only got what they need. And as a result, they passed on the only thing they knew to my brother and I. They passed on and installed and set our mind with this belief that said, you should only have what you need and nothing more. And although I didn't know it then, what I was doing was I was discovering the preset beliefs in my mind. And I was faced with a choice. Do you go on from here with that belief system? Or do you change your belief? Do you go into your mind and reset the belief to where it is more in line with your own thinking, more in line with something you have concluded, not something that was installed in you that was somebody else's conclusion? How do you take ownership of a belief that you didn't deliberately install? And here was the conflict. I wanted for something else, but my belief was in conflict. Like two tides coming together at the same time form this confusion, this riptide of confusion and anxiety and stasis. And so, without any instructions, I took out a sheet of paper and I wrote these words. I believe that I should have anything I want as long as I'm willing to work honestly and hard for it. And I wrote it up and I taped it on the dashboard of my old pickup truck. And for the next few months, I thought on this and I declared that belief system over and over and over again. This was my first introduction of the mind setting process, that I get to choose how I think. I get to choose my beliefs. Now, little did I know at that time that this wasn't just a one and done. This wasn't just a there, done, move on, you've got a new belief. The awareness of this battle, this ongoing battle between the you, the real you, the installations that are your advocate, the installations of belief that serve you completely and those you love, the positive, beautiful advocate installations, and the anti-you whose installations are to derail, are to diffuse, are to confuse, are to hold off abundance in favor of mediocrity. That battle was an awareness that came later, of recognizing that even though you may deliberately choose, like any gaining of ground, you have to now protect that belief. You have to restate it. You have to re-administer a verbal declaration of that belief on an ongoing basis to hold your ground against this battle. Because the battle between the you and the anti-you will never end. In my effort to study and answer the question of high achievement, step one is understanding your beliefs and choosing, if necessary, to remodel those beliefs or to rip them out and reinstall new beliefs, if necessary. Now, there were many beliefs that were installed in my head as a kid that I've ratified. I've said thank you to my parents. They are beliefs I absolutely embrace to this day. They're beliefs that have served me and everyone around me my entire life. But there are many that had to be remodeled, and several that had to be completely ripped out and replaced. You can't take ownership of beliefs unless you are the one to go through that process. and it's a challenging process. But if you want for abundance, if you want for extraordinary, there's no way around looking at your beliefs. When we know our beliefs, we can answer the question, is something possible to us or is it impossible to us? This is step 2, and I'd like you to visualize like a clock, beliefs being at the top. And if our beliefs are in order, the door of possibility swings open. If our beliefs are in order, if we're in control of our beliefs, we would never set deliberately a limiting belief. But everywhere I go, I see limiting beliefs. Whether they're self-imposed or not, usually they're not. They're just installed. They're there. When we're aware of our beliefs, we eliminate all limiting beliefs to where all of a sudden the world of possibility, that door swings wide open. We believe that anything is possible in our life. That's a quantum reality right there. Because I will tell you, everywhere I go, within a few minutes of talking to people, I can hear by the language of their life that there are doors of possibility that have been closed. You just don't go there. That's not even a remote possibility. And to some, it's absolutely astounding to me how tiny the step is, and yet still impossible in their mind. I mean, they could look at an opportunity that costs $500 and immediately say, well, I've looked at my finances and there's just no way. There's just no way I could do that. And of course I go, $500? There's no way you could conceive of in your life making an extra $500 to be able to do this? And the answer is no, there's no way. I just can't. Period. Done. And growth then stops right there. Because growth is in motion. Growth is about change. Growth is the opposite of sameness. And without the door of possibility open, you are stuck in sameness. You're stuck. And sameness is the goal of the anti-you. Sameness is the goal. Do you see how the two tie in? In order to evoke change, which is growth, it's got to be possible. If the door of possibility is open, now we step into a world where it gets crazy in the most beautiful way. Because that next step between our beliefs and the door of possibility, the next step is focused intention. Focused intention asks the question, so if everything is possible, and you believe that, what do you want? What do you want? I mean, what do you really, really, really want? And I'm telling you, the word intention, just type it in, look it up. There are volumes of books written about this word. That when we really understand intention, wow, it opens a can of worms. A can of worms. There are those that say when you know so clearly what you want, when you have that kind of laser focus, not only are you focused and looking for this, but it, whatever it is, starts looking for you. Wow. Crazy. Your mind and beliefs somehow have unlocked this door of action, of providence, of things that start happening that never would have happened had you not had focused intention. Intention. I wrote once, I asked somebody, what do you want? Oh, I want to be happy. You want to be happy with a little kumbaya playing in the background. That's not intention, right? I wrote once that aspiration, things you aspire to, aspiration is a bouquet of balloons, right? Everybody aspires, they want nice things in life. Aspiration is a bouquet of balloons. But intention is a swarm of angry bees. It's a whole different thing. Intention is focus. It's a prone position with a laser scope. It knows exactly what it wants. And I contend when you know exactly what you want, you're going to find it. You're going to find it. I could tell you a story as to the backdrop of this little stage we have set up here at the hangar, that this plane sitting behind me has a story of focused intention. That being a pilot for many, many, many years, I've flown a lot of different kinds of aircraft and owned, aircraft that I've literally flown the wings off. But growth in anything is what I aspire, and so growth to the next most complex aircraft. As you have different ratings in aviation, you want to use those ratings. You're growing in your competence. You've got a private, an instrument rating, a multi-engine instrument, a commercial rating, on and on and on. All these different levels of competency in flying. Well, you need a plane that can match that. And so I'm looking for my next plane. Well, what does that look like? Oh, I'm just looking up in the sky to see if something just lands right in front of me. No. I do my research. And down to the year, make, and model of what I'm looking for. I want a 1972 or a 1973 421B pressurized turboprop Cessna. That's what I want. 7 seats. This range, this capacity, this kind of plane. I know exactly what I want. And so once you know what you want, intention is let everybody in the world know what you want. And as I discover this is the one, I've done my research. I'm in a meeting with some businessmen in Arizona. And after the meeting, I took General Don Shepard aside and said, General Shepard, you know hundreds and hundreds of people that own airplanes in the world. You're a high-time decorated pilot yourself. I want you to know that I am on the hunt for a 421B Cessna. Here's why I've concluded that, and I'm on the hunt. Would you keep your eyes and ears peeled for me? Would you be my informant on the street? If you hear of anything, let me know. And he said he absolutely would, and he knew the airplane. He understood why I wanted that airplane, and And so 15 minutes later, from planting that seed of intention with General Shepard, I got an email, and I was CC'd on the email, and there must have been 20 different names that the email went out to, and I was CC'd. And the email essentially said, hey, guys, I'd like to introduce my friend Greg. I just got out of a meeting with him. We started talking planes, and he let me know that he is on the hunt for a 421B Cessna. Here's his contact information. If you know of anything, give him a call. 5 minutes later, my phone started ringing. And I'll never forget the first phone call I got was this guy. He said, hey, Greg, this is Tony. I just got your name from Shep. Hi, Tony. Oh, my gosh. How's it going? And we had the nicest conversation. And wow, I could tell this guy knows aviation and he knows his planes way beyond how I did. I mean, he was a veteran, right? And he said, okay, I've got it dialed in. I know why you want the 421, and that B model is, yep, I totally get it. And so I've got a couple of people I'm going to call for you, so I'll be in touch, and let's make sure we're in touch. I said, Tony, I want to make sure we stay in touch. This has been so awesome. And he said, well, listen, I'm going to shoot you an email right now so you have my contact information. We'll stay in touch. I said, oh, that'd be fantastic. And he did. And this was General Tony McPeak, who was the 14th Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force. I went, oh, wow, General Tony McPeak. I think the next call came from General Bud Siddick, and the next phone call, and the next phone call. And everybody that's calling me are generals in the Air Force. And about the fifth or sixth call, I got a call from General Ronald Fogelman. And General Fogelman said, hey, I just got this email from Shep, and I actually have a 421B, and Ms. Jane has said it's time to get a smaller, faster plane, and so I'm going to sell it. And let's talk. And we did, and about 3 weeks later, I was at his ranch in Colorado, and we went and looked at the plane and worked out a deal for me to buy the plane from him. When you really, really, really know what you want, intention, Waldo is in this picture. But just like looking for Waldo, you have to believe that Waldo's in the picture. You have to believe it. No doubt about it. Waldo is in the picture. And focused intention starts a route to Waldo. When you really know what you want, every seed you plant moves you closer to staring at Waldo right in the face and finding what you want. And there's the opportunity. I believe that focused intention leads to opportunity. There you go. You now know somebody that has a 421B. It's a good one, and they're willing to sell it. Intention led you here. But really, did intention lead you here? No, it was beliefs that opened a door to possibility, that allowed you to have focused intention, that led to this opportunity. And now you have this opportunity. The next step is to take the right actions to secure the opportunity and seize it. And that step is the step of toolbox. Do you know what you're doing? Do you know how to get the deal done? Do you understand the deal structure that you're going to propose? Do you understand the technical aspects of what it is that you're looking at? Are you schooled in making the right decision? In my world of real estate, we see opportunity all the time, but now it begins a due diligence. It goes into the world of toolbox, of really pulling it apart and understanding the elements of real estate and zoning and expandability and everything there is to know about the real estate, dirt, sticks, and bricks. And then, of course, pulling out all the clues that you need that put the puzzle pieces on the table so that you can propose a finance deal structure, propose the kind of deal that's going to serve the seller and get you where you're going as an entrepreneur. In other words, do you know what you're doing? Just because you see an opportunity doesn't mean, woohoo, we're there. Oh no, now we got to see if you know how to fly the damn plane. The backstory of a plane like this is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours, thousands of takeoff and landings with instruction, with tests, written and practicum to get the ratings you need to do what it is that you want to do. There is no shortcut to the toolbox. There is no way out of that. There is no way that you're going to get results from the opportunity without having the tools. I think it was Abe Lincoln, I may be wrong, but I think it was Abe Lincoln that said something to the effect that if I had a week to cut down a tree, I would spend 6 days sharpening my axe. The sharpening of the axe is learning the toolbox. It's making sure that you're ready to do what you've got to do, that you want to do. The readiness piece, the ground school, the hard work, having the stage set of knowledge, both left and right brain, positioning yourself with abilities of lines of credit, of partners, of cash, of the things you need to do what you want to do. That toolbox, it has to be in place. It's the hard work. It's the discipline. It's the Masters series playing on a loop in your vehicle for 5 years in a row, never turning it off. And I've had many students that know their stuff, and that's exactly what they've done. It's becoming a master in conjunction with your desire and your intention. You can want to fly. You can want it so bad. But if I handed you the keys and said, hey, it's your lucky day. I've heard you want to fly. It's so great. Let's open the door and roll this thing out. Here's the keys. Take it for a flight. You got all the way to opportunity. There it is. I'm willing. The door's open. The plane's sitting there. It's all set to go. All you got to do is walk in, get in, pull up the stairs, start it, and go. But if you don't have a toolbox, you're not going anywhere. Toolbox speaks of the disciplines in our life to put us in position and at the ready when opportunity walks in our door. When we hunt down the opportunity, are we ready? Are we at the ready? You've put yourself in position. Here's the opportunity now. Are you ready? Do you know what you're doing? If you are ready, you get extraordinary results. Extraordinary results. And here's the thing about extraordinary results. Whenever you get any kind of extraordinary results, you get an automatic belief upgrade. It's like an auto 2.0. Poof. All of a sudden, your beliefs get reinforced by results. And your beliefs get stronger and bigger and more capable. And the door of possibility, although it seemed to be as wide as it could possibly be, in some way it swings open even wider because your mind of belief has grown. And possibility swings open more widely, and we create bigger, more amazing intentions. And with those bigger, more amazing intentions, wow, we see an opportunity. And because we realize the importance of being in school and disciplined and growing and studying, our toolbox matches those bigger opportunities and we get more results. The first house I bought required a cleanup from A to Z, a roof, a new deck, and what I guess looking back I would call a light bathroom remodel, meaning the sink and the toilet were falling through the floor. And so in redoing those, I discovered that you could actually move the location of the sink and the toilet if you knew enough about plumbing. And that was an amazing breakthrough. Wow. The toilet doesn't have to stay in the same place it always was. You could just move the pipe and then relocate the toilet. And I remember that finished bathroom. It had tongue and groove cedar. It had a stained glass window. The toilet had been moved from here to here. Instead of an ugly tub, it was a mud pan shower. And I stood back having got those results and I went, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. I could actually remodel the next one like I think myself. I wouldn't even have to hire a plumber because I was there watching and learning and growing. And my belief system grew. About 40 years later, I built this house. This house has 52 panel boxes. It has a slate roof. It has a welder on site for 4 years, a stone crew on site for 5 years. It took 8 years to build this house, to the cost of about $8 million. I think how many laps around the track, how many auto upgrades of belief I've had from when I was 18 to when I built this house, I was in my mid-50s. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of laps around the track. Of learning, of growing, of failing, of getting back up, of debriefing, of going forward. But every time you get back up and get back on the horse and find success again, it's more than just a 2.0 upgrade. It's like a big upgrade. Because now you've grown and you've stayed focused on your growth even when things don't go right. It's not an easy upgrade that everybody has a glass of wine and woohoo. It was an earned upgrade because it cost you. Those are the upgrades that really, really, really count. But the question is, after all the years, I can honestly tell you, there's never been a time where life, no matter what, hasn't gone upward and outward, upward and outward. Beliefs increasing, possibility increasing, intention getting bigger and more focused all the time. And to me, it all comes back to understanding that we get to set our mind, and it's an ongoing process, because the battle between the you and the anti-you is an ongoing battle. The anti-you did his very best to make sure that what I'm doing right now wasn't going to happen. Oh my God. The anti-you knows every button on the dashboard, knows every failure, knows every insecurity, uses my introvert nature against me constantly. I mean, it knows me in, out, left and right, forwards and backwards, and had a full court press on the minute this idea of a podcast came on the table here in our company. It was a full blitz. But because I've seen this blitz before, but because I know the battle's going on, like you can calm yourself and ask, is this the real you saying these things? Is this the calm, confident advocate? Or is this a very worried anti-you that's speaking here? If the anti-you's goal is sameness, one thing's for sure. When you put yourself out to the world, nothing's going to be the same. And so the very action of this podcast is a threat to the anti-you, and I know it. But the battle continues every day. Accept it. If you live in the arena floor, the lions don't ever take a nap. They're there. They're there trying to stop you at every turn. To put a bow on today, I'd like to have you consider this. I'd like you to consider the idea of what does it mean to have an open mind. We've talked about mindset, where we get to set the way our mind delivers. We get to set our beliefs. But an open mind considers the conclusions of yesterday. As you grow, you adapt and even start redefining your own beliefs, because life and results and experience, it keeps refining your own beliefs. I believe that's the ultimate of growth, is when you have an open mind to consider the thoughts you've yet to consider. What are the things that you've concluded long ago? Whether they were set for you or you set them, are you open to more evolution and growth? As you know more, as you experience more, the door of possibility automatically opens wider. Are you taking advantage of that? Are you growing? There's some of you that have outgrown the people you hang out with, and yet you still hang out with them. There are those of you whose business is 10x more capable than what you're doing. But the anti-use got you in a coma of sameness. You're not questioning things anymore like you used to. When I get to work one-on-one with a student, day one, question everything. Even the thoughts you ratified, even the beliefs that you're sure of. An open mind says, I'm willing to grow and change to become an even better version of myself. And when you move forward, you will leave certain things behind. You can't get to second base without leaving first base. Consider that an open mind considers the conclusions of yesterday. I truly appreciate you allowing me to spend some time with you. And until our next podcast, God bless you.